Why do you spend hours doing crossword puzzles and taking expensive brain supplements, yet you still walk into a room and completely forget why you are there? You might think your memory is just slipping because of age, but the truth is that most of what you have been told about preventing cognitive decline is completely backwards. Mainstream advice treats memory loss as an inevitable part of getting older, suggesting you just need to keep your mind active with simple games or accept your genetic fate. These superficial methods leave people feeling frustrated and defeated because they act like a tiny band-aid on a massive hidden wound. They completely ignore the metabolic inferno happening inside your skull right now. Brain fog, forgetfulness, and serious conditions like Alzheimer's disease do not just happen out of nowhere. They are the direct result of what you put on your plate every single day. I am going to reveal the real root cause of brain aging and how your fork is actually your most powerful tool against cognitive decline. If you are ready to look beyond the surface level advice, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon right now so we can fix this together. Let's look at the evidence together and dismantle one of the biggest myths in modern medicine. The mainstream narrative tells us that cognitive decline is mostly a roll of the genetic dice, or just an unavoidable tragedy of growing old. We are told to just cross our fingers, maybe do a daily Sudoku puzzle, and hope for the best. This passive approach is not only incredibly discouraging, but it is also scientifically inaccurate. It totally misses the underlying metabolic disaster that drives brain degeneration long before the first signs of memory loss appear. Here's what is fascinating. Your brain is an absolute metabolic powerhouse. It only takes up about 2% of your total body weight, yet it relentlessly consumes at least 20% of your daily energy. To understand how cognitive decline actually happens at the cellular level, you need to think of your brain as a fleet of highly advanced, incredibly complex sports cars. These cars represent your neurons, the brain cells responsible for your memory, your focus, and your ability to learn new things. Like any high-performance engine, these neurons absolutely require a constant, clean supply of fuel to run efficiently and repair themselves overnight. In your body, that primary fuel is usually glucose, and the hormone insulin acts as the essential fuel pump nozzle that connects to the car and fills the tank. When you constantly flood your digestive system with the wrong types of modern highly engineered food, you actively damage those critical fuel pumps. This is the real root cause of brain starvation. It is a terrifying condition that leading neuroscientists are increasingly calling type 3 diabetes. Let's break this down further so you can visualize the damage. Imagine the sensitive insulin receptors on the surface of your brain cells are exactly like the delicate mechanical valves inside a gas station fuel pump. If you constantly pump dirty, highly corrosive sludge through them day after day over several decades, those sensitive valves become rusty, jammed, and completely unresponsive. This is exactly what happens with severe insulin resistance in the brain. Even if there is plenty of circulating glucose floating around in your bloodstream, the jammed insulin pumps simply cannot push the vital fuel into the neurons. Your precious brain cells quite literally begin to starve to death while happily swimming in an abundant sea of energy they can no longer access. This catastrophic energy crisis causes the mitochondria, the tiny cellular engines inside your neurons, to sputter, misfire, and eventually fail entirely. When your brain's mitochondria fail, you first experience that familiar daily brain fog. Then you lose the ability to concentrate. Eventually, this leads directly to the physical, structural shrinking of the brain itself. But the metabolic damage does not just stop with a broken fuel delivery system. This metabolic dysfunction naturally triggers a devastating cascading chain reaction that brings us to a second critical physiological concept we must discuss. This is where it gets incredibly interesting and deeply concerning. We absolutely have to talk about systemic inflammation and your gut health. Your digestive tract and your brain are intimately connected through a massive communication superhighway known as the vagus nerve. When you regularly consume a highly processed standard modern diet, you quickly destroy the delicate, beneficial balance of your gut microbiome. This dietary destruction creates a state of chronic, low-grade systemic inflammation that travels straight up that neural superhighway and easily breaches the protective blood-brain barrier. Think of your brain's internal immune system as a highly trained, specialized crew of nighttime janitors called microglia. Normally, these janitors quietly sweep up cellular debris, clear out dead proteins, and keep the delicate neural environment perfectly pristine. However, When toxic chronic inflammation from the gut constantly enters the brain cavity, it acts exactly like a blaring false fire alarm that simply never turns off. Those microscopic janitors panic. They drop their brooms, grab heavy sledgehammers, and start blindly smashing everything in sight. Instead of protecting and cleaning your neurons, these hyperactive immune cells begin actively destroying perfectly healthy brain tissue. This friendly fire aggressively accelerates the dangerous buildup of toxic amyloid plaques, strongly associated with advanced Alzheimer's disease. The combination of starving brain cells due to cellular insulin resistance and a localized inflammatory immune system spinning completely out of control creates the ultimate perfect storm for rapid neurodegeneration. Interestingly, some studies have found that individuals with metabolic syndrome and poor blood sugar control have a significantly higher risk of developing severe cognitive impairment later in life, regardless of their specific family history. The clinical evidence clearly shows that the long-term health of your brain is inextricably tied to the daily health of your metabolism. 1. You must aggressively limit your daily intake of harmful saturated and trans fats. Think of these highly industrial and heavy animal fats as a thick, sticky sludge being poured directly into the microscopically thin oil lines of your brain's complex machinery. They slowly clog the vital vascular networks that deliver precious oxygen and essential nutrients to your hardworking neurons, contributing to accelerated memory loss and severe cognitive impairment over time. To fix this problem, ruthlessly audit your kitchen pantry today and throw away any processed snacks made with hydrogenated oils or cheap cocoa butter substitutes. When cooking meals at home, immediately swap out solid fats like artificial margarine or heavy animal drippings for deeply nourishing liquid alternatives like cold-pressed extra virgin olive oil or pure avocado oil. Always read ingredient labels very carefully. Huge food manufacturers are notoriously sneaky and will intentionally hide destructive trans fats under deceptive names like partially hydrogenated vegetable oil simply to artificially extend the shelf life of their brain-damaging foods. 2. We absolutely need to dramatically reduce our modern consumption of highly processed foods and passionately embrace a dietary structure much closer to the traditional Mediterranean lifestyle. Ultra-processed foods like commercial sugary pastries, deep-fried frozen fries, and heavily preserved deli meats offer zero real nutritional value and are recognized by researchers as primary risk factors for Alzheimer's disease. Imagine confidently feeding an elite racehorse a daily diet of cheap candy instead of premium oats and fresh greens. The horse would quickly become violently sick and sluggish, which is exactly what happens to your complex neural pathways on a modern processed diet. Deliberately build your main meals around a vibrant foundation of fresh seasonal vegetables, intact whole grains, diverse legumes, and high-quality low-fat dairy products. Focus intensely on eating whole foods that actually look like they came directly from nature rather than a sprawling chemical factory. Be extremely wary of the inner center aisles of your local grocery store, as that is exactly where the brightly packaged, synthetically flavored food products usually lurk in wait. 3. You must actively and intentionally protect your aging brain from dangerous heavy metal accumulation, particularly the hidden mercury found in our oceans. Mercury is a notoriously potent neurotoxin that directly attacks your central nervous system and violently disrupts the crucial neurotransmitters, allowing your fragile brain cells to communicate effectively. Picture toxic mercury as a tiny, invisible pair of sharp wire cutters constantly snipping away at the delicate electrical cables inside your computer's motherboard. Once those essential cables are cut, the important signals simply cannot get through anymore. To get the incredible brain-boosting benefits of marine omega-3 fatty acids without taking on the toxic burden, you should eat seafood 2 to 3 times a week, but be highly selective. Always choose small, low-mercury options like wild-caught Alaskan salmon, fresh oily sardines, and small shrimp. You must absolutely avoid eating massive predatory fish like giant swordfish, shark, and certain types of big-eye tuna, because they accumulate massive, dangerous amounts of destructive mercury in their flesh over their long lifespans. 4. It is well past time to ruthlessly control your daily consumption of refined, stripped-down carbohydrates. Common household foods like fluffy white bread, sticky white rice, and sugary baked goods hit your digestive system and instantly convert into a massive surge of glucose, creating an overwhelmingly high glycemic load in your bloodstream. This sudden blood sugar spike is exactly like sending an uncontrolled electrical power surge through your home's delicate internal wiring, frequently blowing out the sensitive fuses located right in the memory centers of your brain. Over decades of repetition, these daily power surges violently accelerate the onset of tragic neurodegenerative diseases. You can easily stabilize this volatile system by simply swapping out all white, highly refined starches for complex, slow-digesting, fiber-rich alternatives. Start consistently eating intact whole grains like nutty quinoa or hearty steel-cut oats, fresh whole fruits, and deeply satisfying beans. The absolutely critical trick here is to always deliberately pair your healthy carbohydrates with a solid source of healthy protein or fat to dramatically slow down the glucose absorption rate. 5. You must entirely eliminate all forms of liquid candy, specifically diet-destroying sodas and sugary commercial fruit juices, from your daily routine right now. The concentrated high-fructose corn syrup and heavily refined liquid cane sugar found in these beverages are absorbed so rapidly that they directly impair your brain's fundamental biological ability to learn new information and reliably store long-term memory. Ease. Think of drinking a huge glass of liquid fructose as aggressively pouring a thick, sticky industrial glue directly onto the beautifully intricate gears of a priceless vintage clock. The resulting sticky mess instantly gums up the delicate machinery of your cellular metabolism, massively increasing your direct risk for type 2 diabetes. This dangerous metabolic syndrome in turn dramatically multiplies your chances of developing severe dementia as you age. Replace these widely accepted but highly toxic beverages with pure filtered water, refreshing sparkling mineral water with fresh lemon, or soothing unsweetened herbal teas. A major warning here is to never let beautifully packaged commercial fruit juice fool you into thinking it is a healthy choice, because without the protective dietary fiber, it is essentially pure metabolic poison. 6. You need to be incredibly cautious and highly scientifically skeptical of popular artificial sweeteners, particularly the widely used chemical aspartame. Millions of well-meaning people switch to diet sodas every day thinking they are making a smart choice for their waistline, but aspartame actually breaks down inside your warm body to release toxic methanol. This is a harsh compound that severely disrupts your brain's natural neurotransmitter regulation. Imagine casually replacing the premium lubricating oil in your car's engine with a cheap, harsh chemical solvent. It might look surprisingly similar while sitting in the plastic bottle, but it will eventually corrode and destroy the entire engine block from the inside out. For sensitive individuals, this hidden chemical disruption frequently leads to terrible headaches, sudden unexplainable irritability, and profound behavioral changes. Furthermore, drinking massive amounts of artificially sweetened diet beverages has been strongly linked in observational data to hidden risks for sudden strokes and creeping dementia. If you truly need a tiny touch of sweetness in your morning coffee, try using a very small amount of natural stevia instead, but always strive to gradually retrain your palate to actually prefer completely unsweetened flavors. 7. You must strictly limit your recreational alcohol consumption and treat it with the extreme caution it truly deserves. Chronic long-term alcohol intake is essentially bathing your most delicate brain tissue in a harsh, abrasive chemical solvent that quickly induces severe sleep disturbances and actively accelerates widespread cellular damage. Furthermore, heavy weekend drinking rapidly depletes your body's vital stores of precious vitamin B1, a crucial neuroprotective nutrient whose absence alone can quickly cause profound and irreversible brain damage. Think of alcohol as a heavy steel cellular wrecking ball swinging wildly and uncontrollably through a beautiful, quiet museum housing your most precious memories. Healthy adults who choose to drink should strictly limit their total daily alcohol intake to no more than 10 to 15 grams per Dalton Y, which is physically equivalent to just one very small glass of dinner wine. Pregnant women and developing children must absolutely avoid alcohol entirely under all circumstances. A crucial non-negotiable tip to remember is that dangerously saving up your daily alcohol allowance to casually binge drink on the weekends is incredibly destructive and maximizes permanent toxic damage to your neurological system. While totally overhauling your daily diet is the undeniable foundation of long-term cognitive protection, there are a few critically important supplementary considerations we must cover to make your defense plan completely bulletproof. First, you cannot ignore the immense power of daily physical movement. Consistent exercise works in perfect synergy with a clean diet by massively increasing healthy blood flow to the brain, which physically delivers the fresh nutrients we just talked about while flushing out toxic metabolic waste. Second, you must prioritize aggressive cellular hydration. Your brain is composed of approximately 73% water. Even a very mild state of chronic dehydration can immediately shrink brain tissue and significantly impair your daily executive function, memory retrieval, and basic focus. Make a habit of constantly sipping clean water throughout the entire day, long before you ever actually feel thirsty. Third, never underestimate the incredible neuroprotective power of deep restorative sleep. When you finally enter deep sleep, your brain's lymphatic system actively opens up and aggressively washes away the toxic amyloid plaques that have naturally accumulated during your waking hours. If you chronically cut your sleep short, you are effectively canceling the nighttime janitorial crew we discussed earlier, leaving those dangerous toxins to pile up and suffocate your healthy neurons over time. Lastly, you absolutely must manage your chronic psychological stress. When you are constantly stressed out, your adrenal glands flood your system with cortisol. While cortisol is useful in a short-term emergency, chronically elevated levels physically shrink the hippocampus, the critical area of your brain directly responsible for forming new daily memories. So let's quickly recap the key logic here. Your brain is not just randomly aging or destined to fail simply because of your genetics. It is a highly sensitive, metabolically demanding engine that strictly requires premium fuel to survive. By actively eliminating inflammatory ultra-processed foods, avoiding toxic heavy metals, cutting out liquid sugars and artificial sweeteners, and strictly limiting alcohol, you are effectively repairing broken insulin receptors and fixing the fundamental cellular energy crisis. You are putting out the chronic metabolic fire and giving your brilliant brain the exact tools it desperately needs to heal, thrive, and stay sharp for decades to come. You truly have so much more power over your long-term cognitive health than the mainstream medical system has ever led you to believe. You do not have to accept memory loss and mental decline as just a normal, unavoidable part of getting older. By making these highly strategic, targeted dietary changes today, you are actively building an impenetrable fortress around your most valuable asset, which is your brilliant, capable mind. I hope you found this incredibly detailed breakdown helpful and empowering for your personal health journey. If you did, please hit that like button, share this vital video with someone you deeply care about, and do not forget to subscribe to the channel for more content that decodes the complex science of your health. Stay curious, take immediate control of your daily plate, and I will see you all in the very next video.